The anime begins with the protagonist, Arata Kasuga, having a dream where he is in a dark place trying to save a young girl. However, when he tries to grab her hand, he wakes up and realizes he was actually touching his cousin named Hijiri Kasuga. The girl gets upset and ends up hitting him. Later, they have breakfast together and the girl asks if there's something he needs to say, hoping for an apology for what happened. However, he shows her a drawing the girl made when they were kids depicting how cute she used to be at that time. Still, Hijiri is surprised and embarrassed by the drawing. She tries to remove it from where it's attached, but Arata mentions that he already took a photo and uses it as a wallpaper, then runs out of their home. On their way to school, Arata stops as he notices the sky is black, while Hijiri insists it's a beautiful sunny day. Continuing their path, they encounter a young red-haired girl who tells Arata that he must wake up soon, otherwise she'll have to kill him. When Arata turns around, the young girl is no longer there. On a rooftop, Arata's cousin appears, noticing that he is not feeling well. The boy asks her if the sun has always had that color, to which Hijiri responds that since her birth and even before, the sun is black because that's how the world they've always been in, including the world he desired, is. She assures him that the sun's color doesn't matter as long as they are together. At that moment, Arata begins to remember Hijiri fading away and begging him not to forget her. He immediately starts asking the girl if she is his real cousin. Despite her affirmation, Arata questions her about the color of the sun. She claims to see it as black, but she painted it red in her drawing. The girl gives up, admitting that she has been discovered and can't believe that a simple childhood drawing betrayed her. However, the red-haired girl, identified as Cracker, shoots at the fake Hijiri, but doesn't harm her, and tells her it's time to reveal her true self. Arata realizes that she is the Morning Star and introduces herself as Lilith Asami, a mage carrying the necessary garments. Despite hearing she is a mage, Arata and the fake Hijiri are still confused. Cracker snaps her fingers, causing the city to degrade, as 3 days earlier, the city was devoured by a gravitational earthquake. At that moment, Arata remembers the black sun absorbing people, including Hijiri, who handed him a grimoire and kissed him, saying not to forget her before disappearing. However, Arata wakes up in a dark place and, realizing there's nothing around, wishes to return to his normal life. That's how he created the world they are in now. Lilith mentions that the Academy sent her to investigate the phenomenon, expecting ruins but finding the city instead. She asks Arata to return the grimoire to erase that world. Otherwise, she'll have to kill him to obtain it. Arata doesn't choose either option and decides to attend the Royal Biglia Academy to become a mage because Cracker informs him that his cousin is still alive. At the academy, Lilith is one of the teachers and presents Arata to his classmates. A blonde girl stands up and asks if it's true that he created a world, something only someone of the Demon Lord class could do. Confirming it, the entire class gets excited, thinking he's a Demon Lord candidate, and the rumor spreads throughout the academy. Later, despite knowing the rumors, the director welcomes Arata and informs him that the institution deals with cases related to magic known as Magus. He also mentions that the academy has leaders similar to those in a game called the Trinity 7, consisting of 7 mages with their specialties, with Lilith being one of them. He tells Arata that by getting to know and conquering all 7, you will comprehend the nature of magic. While Arata and Lilith walk through the academy corridor, the boy senses the presence of a girl on the roof, and when she realizes she's been noticed, she introduces herself as Levi Kazama, a ninja belonging to the Trinity 7. Through a window, they see 2 other members of the group, Akio Fudo, the best in offensive abilities, and Miura Yamana, the most skilled member of Trinity. At night, Arata decides to take a shower, as recommended by his grimoire, but when he arrives, he encounters a girl resembling Hijiri named Erin, raising suspicions about her connection to Hijiri. The next day, Arata attends his classes at the academy, and not only him but the whole class notices how Erin can't stop staring at him despite sitting next to him. She follows him during lunch and even to the bathroom. When Arata questions her about why she's been following him all morning, she responds that she's observing him because he is the Demon Lord candidate, and she won't stop following him since she's supposed to be the Demon Lord's spouse, essentially his young wife or woman. She mentions that he will understand more about it later. Later, when Arata returns to his room, he finds Levi, along with Selena Sherlock, his classmate, who says she wants to ask him some questions, and Lilith, who, as a teacher, needs to supervise since girls are not allowed in the boys' dorms. During the interview, Arata only talks about his preferences, making Lilith uncomfortable. The protagonist asks Lilith to teach him more about magic, but also inquires about his grimoire. Lilith responds that it is the Astil Codex, containing knowledge from another world, almost like a legend. Arata starts thinking that this object might be the reason he is there and the only clue he has to find Hijiri. Lilith also tells him that mages tend to have a research theme, which he must choose from the files of the 7 deadly sins. Suddenly, the room becomes dark, but the grimoire helps by illuminating it slightly. They realize both the door and the window are closed. The grimoire explains they are trapped in a much smaller version of the world, similar to a game, so they need to find the exit by searching their surroundings for a solution. Arata grabs a chair and smashes it against the door since the Codex told them to think differently, as magic is about not limiting oneself to the ordinary. However, they are wrong. Meanwhile, Selena wonders who caused this, but Arata believes he knows and suspects Erin. The youngsters continue searching for an exit, with Arata starting to give up. However, the girls tell him not to surrender because they need to use the bathroom. Arata has no choice, and together they try to deceive the grimoire by claiming they found the exit. Although Lilith thought it wouldn't work, they succeed because the grimoire reveals the barrier was under the bed. Once they destroy it, Arata tells the girls they can go to the bathroom. The grimoire laughs, thinking it tricked them, and says it can't wait to see what research theme Arata chose. However, the young man, not knowing why he should choose a research theme, is interrupted by Erin's appearance. She tells him a theme is a vital subject of study for a mage, and once he conducts his research, he can use his magic. Arata leaves the room, and Erin sees the grimoire, asking to hold it. From what he can see, they get along well. She then asks if it was her who put up the barrier and why. Erin replies that she did it because he is the Demon Lord candidate. The young man, not knowing what that is told by Erin that it's the boss of the bad guys and the academy director said so. At that moment, the director enters through the window, having overheard his name. Both Arata and Erin feel uncomfortable, so they decide to ignore him and talk somewhere else. In a different room, Lilith accompanies them. Erin explains that the reason she trapped them was that the director told her that if she caused trouble, the Demon Lord candidate would likely unleash another collapse phenomenon. Lilith questions why their director would do such a thing, so Erin stands up and asks Arata to put his hand next to hers. At that moment, a great power is unleashed, revealing the Wrath File because her theme is ruin, destruction, making Arata lose control and triggering the beginning of a collapse phenomenon in the academy. Lilith, not wanting the academy to be destroyed, decides to end it, but Erin stops her because she wants to find out what's behind the collapse, since that's what magic is about. Both are interrupted by Aikyo and Mira, who decide to interfere with this phenomenon. While one stops the collapse, saying she won't be merciful with evil, the other states she will exterminate the cause of the phenomenon, which is Arata. After the incident, the academy was in ruins due to the collapse, so the students are on a southern island enjoying their vacation until the director rebuilds the institution. Meanwhile, Arata, Erin, and Lilith are punished, working there for causing the phenomenon. However, Arata wastes no time complimenting Lilith on her figure, making Erin feel somewhat jealous as her husband flirts with someone else. Going back to the events of the night of the phenomenon, Aikyo destroyed Arata, but the collapse persisted. Arata wakes up next to a girl named Yui, who stopped the kick. However, her intervention brought some problems as the academy continued to crumble and students began to disappear. The young man decides to return to remedy everything, but Yui stops him, explaining that to control his power, he needs a research theme among the files of the 7 deadly sins. He should choose a theme to stop the problem. Thinking his theme should be controlled to halt the collapse, when he returns to reality, Arata appears where the Trinity is and declares that his research theme will be control. The Grimoire formalizes his contract, making him a magus, and in seconds the phenomenon disappears along with the powers of the girls who are with him. On the island, Arata tells Selena and Levi how he stopped the collapse. Later, Selena asks to see him alone in his magus mode. Without any problem, he agrees, but Selena traps him with her logos are power. However, Arata proves to be stronger and dispels the magic along with the girls' clothes. At night, Levi and Selena walk down the hall and hear strange noises from Lilith's room where Arata is. They begin to imagine forbidden things they might be doing. Lilith opens the door, catches them spying, and hits them both for thinking strange things as they are with Erin, and we're discussing how the young man wants to recover Hijiri now that he has become a magus. Later, as they gather, Arata asks the girls about the other 2 missing Trinity 7 members, as he needs to talk to all of them. Selena replies that one is named Yui, who communicates through dreams and is special, and the last one disappeared before he arrived. In the mixed baths, Aikyo and Mira were there but leave as they don't want to be near him. Selena suggests that Arata concentrate his power on a single person or thing, channeled through a sword or weapon. Arata asks Lilith for a weapon, but she refuses, using her magic to shake her pistol. They then decide to show Arata what each girl can do with magic. Lilith goes first, demonstrating how she concentrates her power to form a weapon. Arata surprises everyone by succeeding on his first attempt. They realize Arata can copy the magic of other magicians. The next day, the protagonist can't believe he can copy magical powers. Lilith tells him he can only copy the basics, so he must learn the processes involved in their execution. When they reach the classroom, they notice all the students are asleep. Arata blames Lilith, claiming she doesn't take her role as a teacher seriously. Levi arrives, stating it's not Lilith's fault. They consult the director, who explains the collapse phenomenon affected weaker magic students, leaving only the Trinity 7 and Arata unaffected. To stop the collapse, they need to work together, but Mira and Aikyo plan to handle it alone. The director reveals the phenomenon originates from the basement and Yui's causing it, as her powers are out of control. As they head to the dungeon where Yui is, the girls inform the protagonist that Yui caused the phenomenon because she's likely about to awaken, being a mage living in the dream world. Only the director is more powerful than her, so they seal the basement to prevent her power from putting everyone to sleep and causing the destruction of the world. They blame Arata, suggesting his encounter triggered the issue. The girls stress the urgency of finding Yu before Mira and Akio, who might kill her. Arata and the three girls activate their Magus mode due to the dangerous environment. Demons appear, consuming magic and the bodies of magicians. Arata takes charge, asking his grimoire to turn into a gun, but it becomes useless. Lilith and Aaron's clothes disappear, deactivating their Magus mode. Levi steps in to destroy the demons. As they progress beyond the dungeon, the light diminishes and small demons attack Lilith and Arata. Aaron stops them with her protection power, and Arata tries to copy it, but the grimoire insists he must fulfill certain processes to copy the magic. Mira and Akio arrive, having created a hole in the floor. Arata stops them, not wanting Yu to be killed. Levi decides to face Akio, allowing the others to proceed. When Arata, Aaron, and Lilith finally reach Yu's room, a massive dark cloud emerges and a huge dragon protects Yu. Arata notices it's not the same as in his dream. Aaron explains the one in his dreams was Yu's ideal form. When the dragon awakens, Arata loses control of his power as if connected to it. Aaron tries to stop the dragon, but it's not enough. He injures her. Lilith attacks with her power, and Akio and Mira decide to collaborate to stop the dragon. Mira states her companion can't defeat it alone, so they all decide to attack it. Levi advises Arata to focus on his grimoire to control his power, then asks him to join the fight. The grimoire warns Arata about underestimating magic, as it might consume him, turning him into a more formidable demon than the dragon. Regardless, Arata moves forward, following Levi and Lilith's advice, successfully controlling his power and destroying the dragon. Once the dragon is defeated, Yu wakes up and jumps on Arata, calling him her brother, but everyone notices she isn't dressed. The next day, Arata wakes up surprised to find Yui and Aaron sleeping beside him, both without clothes. Just then, Lilith arrives, left speechless by what she sees. Later, during physical education class, Arata is excited as he can see the girls. Yu hugs him, but Aaron, feeling jealous, also embraces him. The three sit to watch others exercise, and Arata can't help but notice Lilith's chest. Akio and Mira arrive, playfully threatening Arata as an indecent man who is obviously a joke. Mira tells Yu that despite the previous events ending well, she and Arata still pose a danger to the world. Selena approaches, thinking the Trinity 7 is fighting over Arata. Lilith encourages everyone to focus on exercising, but Levi misinterprets and challenges Akio. Aaron joins, asserting herself as Arata's wife. Selena takes photos, excited to see the Trinity 7 fight. She asks Lilith to join, fearing she'll lose Arata otherwise. Despite getting nervous, Lilith claims she's not interested. Yui is the last to join, transporting everyone to her world as her magic is the most powerful. Arata finds himself in Yu's world, while others are in another dream, except for Mira, who leaves as she can't stand Arata. Yu tries to kiss Arata while everyone is asleep, but he suggests getting to know people better first. She talks about her theme being friendship, but despite that, Levi is her friend. Yu finds it challenging to make friends, having been asleep for a long time. Arata suggests they be friends, and before returning to reality, Yu kisses him on the cheek to thank him. Later, Mira and Akio talk while taking a bath, expressing concern about the recent collapse phenomena. Mira worries more people are losing control of their magic and turning into demons, possibly related to the Demon Lord candidate. Akio reassures her, saying she's there to help with their work, and she should always count on her. This night, thunder breaks some windows at the academy, and in the same hallway, a blonde girl walks calmly. The next morning, students notice the broken windows. Lilith tells Arata that someone might have entered the academy at night. Mira suspects Arata due to faint traces of a collapse phenomenon, and despite his denial, Lilith claims he and Yui are suspects. Yui, feeling the presence of magic, confronts Lilith, who scolds her. Yu responds by kissing Arata on the cheek, leaving Lilith in shock. However, Mira confirms the magic doesn't come from either of them, but is similar to a past incident in a library. Arata and Yu share this information with Aaron. Levi, trying to scare Arata, mentions a ghost. Aaron explains that a few months ago, before he arrived at the academy, the weather was similar. All students returned to their rooms except for two twins in the library. Suddenly, the windows shattered, and without realizing it, the older twin disappeared. Despite searching, she never reappeared, and to this day, she remains missing. For this reason, Arata becomes even more interested in what's happening and decides to investigate. They head to the library, where Mira and Lilith are to help. While searching for clues, they find Selena in the library, but she seems distracted. As Arata approaches her, everything darkens, and they are teleported to another world. Mira and Lilith transform into their Magus modes, ready to fight. Selena saves Arata from an attack by a girl identical to her, Lise, the Seventh Trinity. Lise steals powers from Mira and Lilith, but is stopped by Akio and Levi, realizing she has become a corrupted magician. Selena reveals Lise is her twin sister, who conducted experiments to connect to the Eternal Library. The girl, upon seeing she's with the Demon Lord candidate, decides to strip him of his powers. Selena intervenes again, predicting her sister's movements. Nonetheless, Lise captures Selena and absorbs her powers, strengthening her magic. While in the Eternal Library, Lise found the Demon Lord element and became a candidate for the Demon Lord. After the incident, Lise states that, like all magicians, she aspires to become a Demon Lord candidate, and she is no exception. However, she plans to skip the study process for immediate results. Arata expresses his dislike for her stealing magic from his friends, despite his preference for shortcuts. He decides to defend his candidacy by summoning his grimoire, transforming it into a weapon to face Lise. However, Lise starts accessing the information she collected from stealing magic from her sister. She urges Arata to join her, attempting to extort him with the mention of Hijiri, claiming that it would be easier to save her if he joins her side. When Mira realizes Lise's deceit, Aikio and Levi attempt to stop her, but Lise, using her power, throws them aside. Taking advantage of Arata's confusion, Lise kisses him, draining his energy and launches her magic against the other Trinity members, stripping them of their clothes. As usual, this has no effect on Mira, who asks Levi to buy time while she analyzes Lise's power. Levi, excited about the chance to fight seriously, creates a distraction. After gaining time in the fight, Mira completes her research, selecting Stagna, the theme of stagnation from the Acedia archive. She launches the power of White Universe. Lise thinks she's in trouble, but when everything seems to be over, the young girl reappears, having hidden using Arata's power. Meanwhile, Erin insists they need to retrieve their magic, or they might cease to exist, as magicians live thanks to their magic. Arata's grimoire advises him that the best option for now is to escape, as Lise is very powerful. However, Arata refuses to let it end that way. Suddenly, Lise has a strange sensation for a moment, and Levi seizes the moment, attacking her and cutting her wings since she couldn't control them. If Mira didn't intervene, Lise would remain a third-rate magician. Lise has no choice but to escape until she can control her power. In this way, the group returns to reality, and Arata apologizes for the trouble he caused. Mira and Aikio reluctantly agree to train Arata before Lise reappears. The next day, the protagonist's training begins. Mira suggests awakening his potential in one strike since he can copy others' magic. He faces Aikio, who is eager to fight. The scared Arata explains that he doesn't know how the processes work, but Mira doesn't care, emphasizing that he must figure it out on his own. Otherwise, he might die facing Aikio. Meanwhile, Lilith visits Selena, still in bad shape, accompanied by Erin and Yui, who can't believe the other two girls are training Arata. Returning to training, Aikio sends Arata flying, causing him to land on Mira and accidentally touch her breasts, resulting in a punch. Arata notices Aikio has great strength in her kicks without using all her magic. He mentions Seki Mao, the creator of Mantra Ancient, who could do the same without using magic. Mira, however, states that if he doesn't learn to use his magic, he won't defeat Lise, and they decide to continue the training. However, in their room, the girls discuss Lise's issue of stagnation and how she can't stay still. Suddenly, demons attack the academy, causing students to lose their magic through Arata's magic. The director realizes the institution is in trouble, as two Trinity members are with Arata while the others haven't recovered their strength. Lise appears, expressing her eagerness to fight the director. The director, claiming to be too old, asks her to let him go, but Lise, enticed by the challenge, unleashes her demons. The director effortlessly defeats them and begins giving Lise lessons, correcting her mistakes as a novice. However, she becomes paralyzed when she sees a multitude of demons behind him. After the events, the director explains to Lise that what she sees behind him is his grimoire, Solomon's Gate. Staring at it for too long can lead to insanity, making Lise realize that a certain level of magic is needed to see it. Not knowing how to combat against it, Lise shows her breasts, prompting the director to approach her without hesitation. With a swift blow, Lise throws him out of the window. Meanwhile, the protagonist and the two girls realize Lise has already begun her attack, so they hurry. They decide to tell him to copy Aikio's technique as soon as possible, which was their initial intention. However, Arata didn't grasp it initially. Arata's grimoire appears, stating that it completed the necessary processes to copy Aikio's Mantra Ancient long ago. Since it's not a technique transforming into a weapon, the grimoire turns into a small woman. This girl mentions not having been in this form since Hijiri used her. Meanwhile, Lise reaches the room where Lilith, Erin, Levi Yu, and Selena are. They realize the director was defeated, suspecting he let himself be defeated. Lise arrives, falling into Levi's ceiling trap, but she manages to escape and goes to her sister to tell her that she would have liked her to join the Dark Magicians. Despite Selena's delicate state, she wakes up and proposes a competition to Lise. If Arata defeats her, she'll stop being a Dark Magician. Lise declines, thinking it's too late, deciding to absorb the magic of the Trinity Seven in the room to defeat the director. Arata interrupts her, accompanied by his grimoire, appearing as a girl named Sora, a name Hijiri gave her. Sora, in a previous encounter with Arata and the other two Trinity members, explains that to use mantra, she must attach herself to a part of his body, gathering all the magic with his will. Akio confirms this, stating that the feelings put into it will directly affect the result. If the will is weak, he might end up hurting himself. Sora entrusts her power to Arata, causing Akio to faint. Returning to the confrontation, Arata accidentally undoes Lisa's clothes while attacking her. Lilith immediately hits him, and Levi claims that Arata's goal is to see all the Trinity members without clothes, which he doesn't deny. As they banter, Sora informs them that Lise regained control of her magic. Sora tells Lise that she only needs to kiss Arata to recover her magic. Despite this, Arata attacks Lise with mantra on his right arm. Sora instructs him to touch Lisa's breasts with the power to absorb her Demon Lord element. However, Lise dodges it. Sora informs Arata of Lisa's location to attack her together, but Lise becomes very fast and uses her trump card, invoking the secret technique called Last Crest, where time stops. In this frozen world, Lise decides to steal a kiss from Arata to rob his magic once again, claiming that he might disappear. Despite this, Arata invites her to try, looking at his accomplice Sora. When Lise says she knows the feeling to defeat him, she attacks, but Arata, frozen in time, seems helpless. Even though the girl is exhausted from using so much magic, she kisses Arata, attempting to steal his Demon Lord power. Suddenly, she feels her magic diminishing and realizes Arata used mantra on his tongue. Although Arata goes toward her, she stops time again, planning to steal another kiss. Despite her regret for her actions, she tells Arata she can't return as using Last Crest traps you in that place. Annoyed, Arata asks why she used it, and she replies that a magician must do everything to continue their research, just like Hijiri did. Before parting, Lise thanks Arata, saying that if someone had cared for her like this earlier, she might not have ended up like this. With the remaining magic, she returns everyone to reality, promising Arata that she will come back for him. Later, Arata informs Selena and the Trinity about what happened with Lise. Mira orders Selena to help Arata master Logo's art quickly and bring Lise back. Meanwhile, the director's secretary informs him that the Western Academy was completely destroyed by the Dark Magicians. It's a new day, and Lilith observes how Arata has become more attentive and studious. He consults all the Trinity about things he doesn't quite understand, leading Lilith to interrogate him, suspecting he might have been replaced by a doppelganger. The young man explains that he genuinely wants to save Lise and has been making progress, having completed 2 processes to copy Logo's art. Despite Lilith being glad that he's taking things seriously, she warns him to be careful, as magic is very dangerous and learning too much might cause him to lose control and turn into a monster. Nevertheless, Arata decides to continue because he doesn't want anyone else to end up where they can't be reached, and he may find a way to help Hijiri. Later, both Arata and Lilith are summoned by the director. Upon arriving in his office, they find Mira and Akio. The director informs them that he has decided to make Arata the second in command of Grimoire security. Mira opposes this decision, as she detests him and doesn't want him to join them as a candidate for Demon King. However, the director believes he is qualified and also appoints Lilith as his companion. He doesn't want to send them alone on the next mission, which is to the Royal Magical Academy Leber, recently destroyed. As they will depart in 2 days, he requests that Arata be adequately prepared for the mission. When they return to their room, Arata thanks Lilith for being his companion. She assumes she was chosen because she was the one who brought him to the academy. The other Trinity members overhear and don't want to miss a moment of their time together. Arata asks Lilith about the Trinity, as each belongs to an archive of a deadly sin. Still, he never knew Lilith's sin archive. Reluctantly, she reveals its lust, leading the other girls to think she's a pervert. Arata, however, tells her that just because her body inspires lust doesn't mean she should investigate lustful things. Suddenly, Sora reminds him that she will be his tutor, and he must teach her the findings of his lustful research. Lilith happily threatens Arata with her weapon, claiming it was just a joke. Later, the young man realizes that despite being the opposite of their sin archives, Lilith is the one furthest from them, changing the topic. She instructs Arata to start studying, but after several hours, Lilith falls asleep, and Arata decides to lie down for a while. Sora lies on top of him, but they are interrupted by Mira and Akio, who think they are interrupting something. Arata explains he was just trying to rest, while Sora claims she was trying to seduce her master. The girls say they are there to ensure he is studying. Arata seizes the opportunity to ask why those 3 academies are so important. Akio explains that they are high-level magical academies, just like the one they belong to. One of them was destroyed when Lise attacked theirs, and Sora mentions feeling a massive magical explosion. Mira states that their mission is to investigate that collapse phenomenon and eliminate the cause once they discover it. They will use a magical portal to get there. But this serious moment is interrupted by Sora, who suggests the girls' visits have different intentions. Mira gets annoyed, but upon seeing an insect climbing on the bed, she panics and falls on top of Arata, waking up Lilith, who shoots the young man. The next day, Arata finishes his studies, but Lilith tells him there's still something pending. Later, everyone gathers in the mixed bath, and Lilith takes Arata to another area. Upon reaching the end of the path, Arata sees a beautiful sunset view. Lilith says it's a good place to relax, and Arata expresses his happiness at seeing her smile in such a beautiful place. This makes Lilith blush, and they start playing with the water, while some of the Trinity members watch. Sora throws a leaf, unintentionally exposing Lilith, and Arata gets into trouble as he thought he did it. The next day, the director sends them to the Liber Academy, but during transportation, the barrier begins to break. The director tries his best to send them without any issues. Upon arriving, Arata and Sora realize they are in the Western Academy. When Mira wakes up, a voice behind them calls Arata. He immediately recognizes the voice and turns to see Hijiri. However, Mira distrusts her, believing it's not her true identity, and decides to attack her. However, it doesn't work as Hijiri, realizing Mira's power, decides to leave, saying they'll meet again. Arata tries to stop her by asking who she is if she's not the real Hijiri, but she disappears as she walks away. After what happened, Sora tells Arata that the person he saw is a fragment of Ilias, having copied the emotions and appearance of Hijiri. Like Sora, it is a grimoire. Meanwhile, Mira decides to investigate alone, possibly to search for her girlfriend. Sora teases her, suggesting she might be jealous because Arata encountered someone from the past. As they enter the academy, Arata notices it's not destroyed as they were told. Instead, the institution is within an enormous barrier along with them. Mira was hoping to find Lilith and Akio, but they are not there. Arata suggests they might be alone, but Sora shows that impure auras appear in front of them. Mira tries to stop them, but her magic fails, leaving her with clothes. Unable to express his happiness, Arata gives her his jacket. Sora explains that the Magus mode in this place has been sealed, preventing them from fighting. She decides to handle the demons while they escape. Later, Sora defeats the auras only to face the girl they saw earlier. She informs them that her magic is unaffected and that no matter how strong they are now in her domain. Arata and Mira, unable to find a way out, go to a classroom to figure out how to escape without defeating the person who set up the barrier. They conclude that attacking the seals is the solution, and Arata decides to go alone to find them while Mira rests. However, the concerned girl insists on accompanying him, not wanting to owe him any more favors. Meanwhile, Sora fights the Ilias fragment. The grimoire realizes that the demons she is attacking are the students of the academy. Nevertheless, she continues since her master is reckless, and the demons keep getting stronger. The fragment is not surprising, expecting no less from the Demon King candidate chosen by Hijiri. Sora uses powerful attacks, but she is unknowingly trapped in a cube. Arata and Mira reach the academy's center, located in the clock tower. The girl reveals that the tower's height allows the barrier's extension over a broader radius. To reach the top, Arata lends his back to Mira, who only has his shirt. As they climb, Arata asks Mira if being the head of the censorship division is because her magic is the most powerful. She explains that it's not the only reason. Her theme is justice, and she must choose what is just. Mira shares that initially she tried to distance herself from others because of her high magic levels. However, Akio extended a helping hand, prompting her to open up. She realizes she's sharing too much but appreciates Arata's understanding. He clarifies he only asked to make her comfortable, given the circumstances. Mira urges him to focus on finding a way out, as it's his duty as the deputy head of the censorship division. Upon reaching the tower's top, they see Sora trapped in the magic queue, and the Ilias fragment appears behind them. She claims to have been waiting for Arata, having captured the power of his grimoire. She plans to trap Mira as well, unleashing stronger impure auras. Believing he's in real trouble, Arata communicates telepathically with Sora. She reveals she's in the barrier's core, maintaining the space-time integrity. He requests some time to help her, asking Ilias to release Mira, as he only needs Arata. Surprisingly, the fragment agrees, and Mira hesitates to let him go, fearing he'll sacrifice himself. Arata reassures her and asks about Hijiri. Ilias confirms her earlier statement, declaring that Hijiri plans to destroy the world, eliminating all the falsehoods on the planet. As she finishes, the fragment claims she'll take care of Mira, intending to kill her since Hijiri is jealous of all the girls Arata cares about. This revelation angers Arata, and he transforms into the true Demon King candidate, revealing the hidden entity within him, Astral Trinity. After the events, the Demon King Astral Trinity appears, demonstrating control over his power to Ilia by stripping her of her powers and revealing his true form. He also frees Sora and Mira. The girls realize he is creating a collapse phenomenon to control it. However, Mira, now with her magic restored, refuses to let it happen, executing her theme. The grimoire also attacks the Astral Trinity, but both fail against the Demon King's power. He approaches Mira, attempting to claim her as his own with a kiss. However, Mira stops him with a slap, recognizing that he is not Arata, and refuses to yield anything. Sora seizes the opportunity to cast a spell, putting the Demon King to sleep and freeing Arata. Upon waking up, Arata recalls everything and thanks Mira for the slap, making him reconsider. Despite Ilia being the cause, Arata politely asks her to reveal how to exit the place. He expresses gratitude for her care in Hijiri's absence. Ilia explains she no longer controls the place as Arata created the Black Sun. Despite this, they decide to search for an exit. Arata transforms an arm into a weapon. Sora displays her power, Mira fully recovers her magic, and Ilia offers her support. Together, they unleash a massive power that dispels the Black Sun. Later, Akio and Lilith arrive. Arata embraces Lilith and Mira, exhausted, asks the girls to leave so they can rest. Akio notices Mira using Arata's name, causing her to blush. Lilith suggests they leave, and Hijiri watches from afar with two others, declaring them enemies. In the Liber Academy, Arata rests as he lost his power after becoming the Demon King. Mira fears they can't stop him if he transforms again. Akio contemplates killing him if necessary but decides against it, having grown fond of him. Lilith suggests informing the director, and before heading there, Akio asks about the one responsible for destroying the academy. Mira reveals it was the grimoire Ilia's fragment and the former owner, Hijiri Kasuga, the person Arata has been searching for. Later, Arata is alone in his room when he wakes up to find Hijiri holding his hand. He apologizes for not being able to save her, but she is delighted that Arata became a magician just to rescue her. Despite knowing they are now enemies and she is stronger, Arata vows to become strong and catch up with her. Hijiri agrees and, invoking a spell, reveals herself as Satan, a manifestation attire involving the themes of destruction, creation, and breakdown. She mentions that mastering all three themes earns the right to be called a Trinity. Lilith attempts to defend Arata but fails, realizing Hijiri has immense magic from an element of the Demon King. Eren intervenes, teleporting and wielding the Founder's Lance of Chaotic Rune. Akio and Mira arrive, relieved that Arata is alive. Hijiri notes Arata's transformation into a Demon King and mentions Iscariot, her group, heading to the Royal Academy. She warns that if he doesn't return soon, he will lose another home and teleports to the Royal Academy. Arata, despite his condition, suggests returning as the Academy is in danger, with only Yui and Levi there to defend it. After the recent events, the Academy is attacked by one of the members of the Iscariot group. Levi confronts her, and despite her opponent's flattering remarks, the ninja realizes she is outmatched. Nevertheless, she gives her best effort despite only being able to use one arm. The director cheers on the young girl, and she humorously asks him to lend her a hand. He replies that he must deal with a distant young girl. Meanwhile, Yu informs both of them that she managed to lead all the students in the academy into their dreams, keeping them safe. Levi thanks her, and before resuming the fight, uses an artifact to call for reinforcements that will arrive at some point. As the battle begins, Levi creates 3 illusions of herself, managing to injure her opponent. The enemy decides to take it seriously and gravely wounds the ninja. Despite facing an opponent practically composed of light, Levi decides to keep fighting, showcasing why they are called ninjas. She summons her last crest of envy, generating a powerful brute force surrounding Lu, the goddess of light. Disappointed that last crest wasn't more imposing, love effortlessly dissolves it. However, she realizes that Levi and the director are no longer there, as her companion reveals they deceived her to escape. The director and the ninja take refuge within the academy. Although the magician creates a barrier, it's only a matter of time before they are found. At least they bought some time. Yu and Selena communicate with the young girl to inquire about her condition. She replies that a little help would be appreciated, hoping Arata and the others return soon. Selena senses something through her camera. Meanwhile, at Liber Academy, the group realizes the transportation artifact was destroyed, likely by Hijiri. It cannot be reconstructed due to its ancient magic, requiring dozens of specialists. Lilith asks for help to rebuild it. Back at Royal Academy, Love searches for Levi, but she unexpectedly appears from behind. Levi stops her attack, and Lu realizes the ninja has recovered her power. Levi explains that the director healed her with his magic while they were hiding. Levi captures the goddess of light with her thread bindings, but Lu escapes by executing her theme and summoning legendary weapons, objects one can obtain by mastering their respective themes. With a single movement, Levi unfortunately defeats Lu. Yu witnesses everything and begins losing control of her power upon seeing her friend defeated. Selena advises her to stay and take care of the other students while she goes back to help, having studied alongside her sister Lise. Selena leaves that world and appears directly in front of Lu, capturing her with her magic through her camera. She takes the opportunity to try to assist Levi, but the goddess of light easily escapes, vowing to destroy her and her friend. She launches her magic at Selena, causing an explosion. Lu declares that her next target is the director, but thanks to Selena, Lise appears as they exchange places and states she will punish the magician for trying to kill her sister and Levi. When Lu tries to attack Lise, she notices her attacks are slower. Levi reappears and attacks her, revealing it was a trap. They not only swap places in time, but also healed Levi's wounds. However, Lu refuses to retreat, and Hijiri arrives, asking Lise if she will truly stay on the side of the good magicians. She threatens to destroy Lise, Levi, and Yui, who has appeared in a spiritual form, but before she can unleash a powerful attack, Arata arrives with the other Trinity members. They cross a portal, and Lise decided to stay with them. Arata declares that the counterattack will now begin. After the events, Arata asks the Trinity 7 for help in recovering Hijiri, despite it being somewhat selfish on his part. Lise interrupts him, and Arata hesitates, unsure if it's Selena since her breasts are larger. He realizes it's truly Lise. Love interrupts, claiming Arata touched her chest, and Levi, not inclined to help due to Arata's perceived perverted behavior with all the mages, doesn't offer much assistance. After the conversation, Arata summons his two grimoires and challenges Hijiri to a fight. She notices that he has regained his magic and therefore won't hold back. Each of them invokes their themes, while the directors of Royal Biblia and Liber Academies observe. Realizing the overwhelming strength of the opponents, they decide not to engage as their battle would destroy the world. Hijiri initiates the fight, but Mira intervenes, having analyzed the evil mage's magic. Akio attempts a sneak attack, but Lo blocks her path. However, this doesn't stop Akio, as she manages to destroy Lo's last object with Yu's help. Liz and Levi then attempt to attack Hijiri, but fail as her Blessing of Baldur technique proves more powerful. Erin realizes that only she can break through the barrier. Collaborating with Levi and Lise, they manage to dispel the barrier. Arata, along with Lilith, seizes the opportunity and delivers the final blow, defeating Hijiri. Drained of energy, Hijiri explains to Arata that when she was absorbed by the collapse phenomenon he caused, she ended up in an empty reality, losing track of time. She nearly disappeared but was able to observe the world from the outside. She saw Arata and the Trinity 7 destroy the entire world, indicating that it's destined to be destroyed by the Demon Lord along with the Trinity, creating a new world. However, this cycle will repeat endlessly. Hijiri, along with Iscariot, aim to prevent a world where Arata became a tool in this cycle. Arata realizes she did it all for him, but assures her not to worry since his theme is control. The Demon Lord is under his control. As Hijiri starts to fade, she reveals that her fragment is now held by the headmistress of Liber Academy, exposing that Hijiri is still alive. A few days later, Arata is outside the academy contemplating Hijiri when Lilith arrives, asking him to accompany her. She takes him to the city, and Arata mentions it's his first visit since transferring. In gratitude for taking care of him at the academy, he asks Lilith to choose a place to go. They decide to eat, and in the distance, some of the Trinity 7 observe them. At a restaurant, they encounter Mira working as a waitress and Akio as a cook. Mira invites them to eat as her treat. After spending an afternoon together, Arata thanks Lilith for inviting him, realizing he was feeling down about Hijiri. He wonders what he can do for her after all she's done for him. Lilith takes his hand and tells him that despite being a dangerous Demon Lord candidate, he treats all the mages as friends. She asks him to stop being so perverted, but the Trinity 7 all care for him. Arata nervously asks Lilith to close her eyes as he wants to give her something. She blushes, stammers, but eventually agrees. Expecting a kiss, she opens her eyes to find a pendant. Arata explains it's a protective amulet, and even though she's a mage, she doesn't want anyone to hurt her or for her to stop being the happy teacher. Lilith is delighted and promises to cherish it. However, the other Trinity 7 interrupt the sweet moment. Later, as everyone heads to Mira and Akio's restaurant, Arata thinks about Hijiri and expresses his happiness, promising not to let her or the others feel sadness, envisioning a day when they all laugh together. It's a new day at the Royal Biblia Academy. After Lilith's classes end, the director's secretary asks Arata to go to the director's office because, based on his current grades, he will be expelled from the institution. The director mentions that despite having contact with the Trinity 7, he hasn't been able to decipher any of their archives, let alone understand them. Therefore, they propose that Arata receives a special class organized by the Trinity. The young man gets excited and starts imagining each class, but for each class, he must submit a report, and he only has one day to do so. Realizing the time constraint, he rushes out of the office. On the way, he encounters Levi, who overheard the conversation. The director encourages Arata to aim for a harem by mastering the 7 archives, but Levi insists she will be the last to teach him, starting with Selena. When he meets Selena, she switches places with her sister Lise, who wastes no time approaching Arata. She comments that her archive is related to the sin of laziness, and she takes advantage, asking him to lie down. After transforming, she asks him to stay calm, but they are immediately interrupted by Lilith, who enters the room very angry. Arata tells Lise that he has understood something about sloth and rushes out of the room. On the way, Yu appears, realizing that Arata is fleeing from Lilith, so she helps him escape, taking him to her world and putting the students to sleep. In Yu's world, she starts undressing, but Arata stops her, as that wouldn't be related to his archive. Afterward, Yu mentions that she doesn't usually covet many things because she spends her time resting, but lately, she's become a bit greedy, wanting to live with Arata and the others. Later, while Arata is taking a bath, Akio appears to teach him about her gluttony archive. She admits to loving food but usually fasting. Akio also mentions her desires for sleep, relations, and appetite, but has trained for 3 years not to depend on those desires. Before leaving, she asks him to be kind to their leader. The next is Erin, who possesses the Wrath Archive. To demonstrate its function, she claims it's easier to annoy others than to get angry oneself by willpower. Erin asks Arata to help create children, but Lilith enters the room furiously after overhearing, leading Erin to claim success since Lilith is now upset. The 5th Trinity to consult is Mira, who unfortunately Arata visited in her room while changing, resulting in him receiving a few blows. Mira asks him to read some books to understand her Pride archive. As time passes, Mira falls asleep and Arata carries her to bed. Grateful Mira, not entirely asleep, hears Arata thanking her for what she does for him. Lilith, who was eavesdropping, feels jealous since she didn't know that Arata had those feelings towards her friend. In the early morning, as Arata is about to rest, Lilith visits him, immediately embracing him and suggesting they spend the night together due to her lust archive. Arata realizes something is wrong and learns that Lilith saw him with Mira, feeling jealous. He reassures her, expressing greater gratitude to her since she is always there for him. While sharing a warm hug, the academy lights start to turn on and Levi appears, stating that a woman's greatest feeling is jealousy. She planned to leave the doors open so that Lilith could hear, helping her understand her envy archive. Both Arata and Lilith are surprised by Levi's actions. At that moment, Mira arrives, heading to Arata's room to apologize for falling asleep, but hears Levi, confessing that she gave her sleeping pills. Both Mira and Lilith get angry, giving Levi and Arata their deserved punishment. That same night, the director is aware of what's happening and declares that there's no need to expel Arata from the academy. His secretary arrives, held hostage by Lu, representing a danger to the world. The director believes that Arata needs to strengthen himself more since he will face much more powerful enemies. He questions whether Arata can truly protect Hijiri or if he will become a powerful demon king and destroy the world. In the middle of a strange dream, we can the protagonist fighting against an unknown being that we will later get to know. Lilith is with him, standing in front of him to sacrifice herself for him. Similarly, this fictitious battle ends when the boy takes his grimoire and wakes up. In reality, Arata has some small disagreements with the Trinity, as most of them can't stand his rudeness. However, Lise, on the other hand, is more than happy with the way our boy is. After this, Arata mentions to the girls that Lilith always appears in his dreams, which seems a bit strange to her. For that reason, she takes out her grimoire to show everyone. The grimoire's name is Hermes Apocrypha. When the protagonist touches it to find out its contents, the object emits a bright light, consuming the entire boy's energy. The other Trinity members use their grimoires to save him. Fortunately, Arata is fine, but something strange and surprising happens. Lilith's grimoire transforms into a little girl who calls our boy and Lilith dad and mom, respectively. After this, the couple wonders how this event happened, and before they could get an explanation, Eren enters the room. Seeing the girl, whose name is Lilim, she gets so excited that wants Arata to have a child with her too. The same happens with Yoi, who is also impressed when he sees the little girl. Leaving all this aside, our boy asks Ninja for help to explain what is happening. She tells us that Lilim is the result of the protagonist's magic combined with Lilith's grimoire and her magic. Due to this, and since all of Arata's magic is now in Lilim, he collapses and falls powerless on the bed. On the other hand, we meet the unknown entity from the beginning, who is the White Demon King, whose real name is Last Trinity. He will be our protagonist's new enemy. His goal is to become the definitive Demon King, but to do that, he must defeat the Demon King candidate, our boy. Fortunately for him, part of his plan is going well because Lilim turned out to be the key for him to wake up and ascend to the earthly plane. Returning to Arata, he wakes up after his collapse. Finding himself in perfect health, he goes for a hot bath with the girls. There, our boy goes through several embarrassing situations with them. They all compete to find out who has the biggest attributes, and Lilim starts this competition. Seeing that the girls are now getting along better and having more fun, our boy thanks the girl. She hugs him and then Lilith, showing that these three form the perfect family, making all the other girls jealous of Lilith. After this, the atmosphere becomes serious as Arata tells the girls that he had a dream where a familiar voice told him, "I want the White Demon King to awaken." Mentioning this, the place turns gray and a white sun appears in the sky. It's a lust collapse phenomenon. For this reason, Arata and the girls prepare to end the anomaly. After transforming based on their respective archives, they head outside. There, they encounter various ghosts whom they defeat without problems. However, a familiar face suddenly appears. Hijiri, who came to warn our boy that the White Demon King has awakened and will soon ascend to the earthly plane. Arata decides to make a plan to fight both the White Demon King and his ghost minions. Some girls stay inside the church to defeat ghosts and a giant monster called Code D, while Arata, Eren, Hijiri, Lilith, and Yoi try to leave the place and find the White Demon King. Upon leaving the church, the group encounters the White Demon King, now known by his real name, Last Trinity. To the girls' surprise, Last Trinity looks a lot like our protagonist, frightening them a bit. The boy decides to be the first to attack the demon, but to his bad luck, he ends up being weakened with a simple look from the demon. This is because Last Trinity possesses the entire boy's magic since he awakened Lilim. Eren and Hijiri then decide to attack Last Trinity, but no matter how powerful their attacks are, they don't manage to harm the demon. Even though Hijiri managed to split the demon in half, he recovered as if no. After this, Yoi attacks the demon with a powerful beam of light, but still, it doesn't hurt him. In a new attack by Eren, Last Trinity manages to use the attack against them, weakening all the girls. He then creates a force field that helps him drain all the remaining magic from Arata. On the other hand, the other group of girls manages to defeat the giant Code D together. Afterward, they wonder about the others. With all his magic taken away, our boy is weak and powerless. Last Trinity prepares to end the boy's life, but Lilith jumps in to protect him. All this reminds him of a dream he had, so he knows what his next move should be. Arata takes Lilith's grimoire and asks Lilith to give him all her magic, which she does without hesitation. He then asks Lilith for her magic as well. With all the magic from both, Arata activates Lilith's grimoire again. This takes them both to an unknown place where they meet their daughter, Lilith. There she tells them that to defeat Last Trinity, they need to use her magic, to which they agree. However, they didn't know that if they do that, Lilith would disappear. For this reason, our boy has a motivating talk with his daughter, expressing his love and assuring her that they will do their best to defeat the demon. He asks her not to think that she will disappear entirely. After this, the girl hugs her parents, gives them her magic, and once done, they are transported back to the earthly plane. There the boy faces an imminent attack from Last Trinity, but easily eradicates him thanks to having more magic now. Thanks to this, Arata manages to summon a new weapon, in a new form called Paladin, which belonged to the owner of Lilith's grimoire. Using this new weapon, Arata easily defeats Last Trinity and breaks the force field that had them trapped. The rest of the girls arrive to congratulate him on winning the battle. However, there's one thing missing: the white sun in the sky, which is part of Last Trinity. So obviously, he returns to life, seeking revenge and trying to become the definitive Demon King. Faced with this, our protagonist asks the girls for help to defeat the demon, and they agree. After each gives their final attack along with Lilith, and our boy, the White Demon King is finally defeated. After this, the white sun disappears and a bright sunrise appears. While Arata rests from all this, Lilith runs to him to hug him. She tells him and Lilith that it's time to leave. This is how we see the girl fade in front of everyone. After this, she returns to her mother's grimoire and Arata says goodbye to her, hoping to see her again soon. After this, there is one more thing left for the protagonist to do, and that is to take off his paladin form, so he takes it off shouting, "Paladin form out." Unfortunately for everyone, this not only caused the boy's armor to disappear, but also all his clothes and those of the girls. So now everyone is clothes living in an embarrassing situation. Arata, along with Lilith, Aikyo, and Lu, finds themselves in a deserted place, which in reality was Aikyo's homeland. It used to be an enormous city, now reduced to ruins. Lu mentions that these ruins are related to the Demon King, and she obtained her legendary weapons from the Sky Library above. At that moment, Aikyo recalls her childhood in that city, where a massive magic from the Sky Library destroyed everything in its path while she walked with her mother. However, when Arata manages to snap her out of that memory, the ground begins to shake and the same magic is about to fall on them. Despite Arata's attempts to stop it, Aikyo transports them to the Sky Library. In doing so, she transforms into a beautiful girl, and Lu, initially their guide, betrays them. However, Aikyo captures Lu using Selena's camera, where Lise is also trapped. Lu tries to seduce Arata, succeeding momentarily, but it turns out to be a trap. They capture her again. Later, Abyss Trinity, the Crimson Demon King and Master of the Lust Archive, appears before them with his dragon. Sora is astonished to see that he has the same face as Arata, indicating he is a demon king from an alternate world. Aikyo realizes that he is the one who destroyed her city. When Abyss casually mentions doing it out of boredom and to showcase his power, Aikyo, enraged, charges at him to attack. However, Abyss proves much stronger, brutally beating her. He then throws her aside and orders his dragon to deal with the Demon King candidate. Lu manages to stop the dragon with her magic. Arata decides to face Abyss with his magic, but it proves ineffective. Abyss, in turn, attacks with his power of death and destruction, wreaking havoc. Lise urges them to leave, but Lilith tries to stop Abyss. However, the Demon King changes his plans, kidnapping Lilith to regain his full power. Lise and Sora ask Arata to leave due to Abyss's overwhelming strength, and Law helps them escape, even though Arata doesn't want to leave his friend. The director of the Royal Biblia Academy, along with the other Trinity members, watches everything unfold. They decide to join forces to find Lilith. The pink-haired girl tells Hijiri that she must guide Arata to the Demon King's weapon, Judeka, though they are unsure if he can maintain his sanity. Returning to the story, Arata wakes up in Aikyo's lap after fainting from the ordeal. Unintentionally, he finds himself in Aikyo's dreams and promises to protect her as her mother once did. However, he must also become a god to safeguard them all. Later, Lilith wakes up in a room where Abyss informs her that she exists only to return his powers. He claims that his Demon King element sleeps within her, making her his daughter. Lilith denies having parents and draws her weapon to defend herself. Levi appears just in time and attacks the Demon King, cutting off his arm. The other Trinity members arrive and they manage to escape with Lilith. Meanwhile, Arata, Aikyo, and Lo search for an exit and Hijiri appears, revealing that there is a method to defeat Abyss, the Demon King's weapon. However, using it means Arata won't return to being a normal magician. As they look for the weapon, they face a formidable guardian golem that defeats Arata and Aikyo. Despite the defeat, they discover the Black Imperial Sword, Judeka, initiating its analysis. As it doesn't reach the Trinity state, the sword starts a forced initiation sequence, causing Arata to lose control. Akio manages to stop him using Selena's camera, transporting him to Lisa's world. Time is frozen in this world, and Lise promises to help him learn to copy magic. She suggests that the best way to copy magic is through physical contact, leading to a peculiar method involving Arata rubbing her breasts until the steps for copying magic are complete. However, Lise begins to suffer, and Sora tells Arata to finish by performing the magic he is best at, unimpressing others. They successfully exit Lisa's world, and Arata asks Akio to take care of Lise, what he calls Judeka. He finally completes the analysis, defeating the golem effortlessly, which is felt by the other Trinity members and the director. Later, the Crimson Demon King finds Lilith and the other Trinity members. He confirms that Arata found the Demon King's weapon, making him very powerful and making them unnecessary. Lilith disagrees, and Abyss reveals that he created a daughter, Lilith, to hide his Demon King element within her. Now he tries to take it back. Arata arrives, causing Abyss to retreat from the Trinity members. Instead, he sends his dragon to destroy them. However, Akio, Livy, Arin, and Mira manage to defeat the dragon. Abyss then unleashes a powerful attack towards Arata, who effortlessly stops it. Abyss attempts to turn Lilith into a demon to use her as a tool to obtain the power of a true demon king. However, Abyss retaliates with an attack similar to black holes, trapping Arata and draining his magic. Lise and Akio decide to help him, acknowledging their appreciation for him. Together, they break the power that ensnared Arata, then proceed to free Lilith and restore her to her Demon King attire. Arata asks the other girls to lend him their magic. With their combined power, Arata declares to Abyss that he will be defeated, as he is not alone. Lu clears the area for Arata, unsheathing the sword. Arata releases a powerful attack that pierces Abyss's chest, dealing a fatal blow. In his last moments, Abyss triggers an explosion that destroys the Sky Library. After the battle, Arata wakes up, initially thinking he is in another dream of Akio's. However, she confirms that they are in reality and everyone fainted due to the explosion. Akio embraces Arata, thanking him for defeating the Demon King who destroyed her hometown. Arata's power briefly revives.